on guys, so I'm finally getting around to doing my Flash Supergirl crossover video, and I'm gonna do a quickie review because I'd much rather talk about awesome things that this episode could mean for the freaking universe of comic book shows. Some of my favorite parts of the episode were Cat Grant becoming her own Supergirl when it came to cupcakes, Silver Banshee knocking Kara out of a window, the Flash showing up and saving her, and then she's like, "Who are you?" Absolutely loved when Wynn was like, "Jealousy, thy name is Olsen." We found out Bernie Sanders does yoga. Loved that our female villains are the evil Taylor Swift squad. Yeah, those are some of my favorite parts, but this episode altogether, I loved it. I thought it was a great episode, and it was fun to see like a dorky, cute episode of a superhero show. I mean, the crossovers on CW are usually a little bit darker just because you have to do it with the Arrow, and he never smiles. It was interesting to see two upbeat characters interact with each other, and they actually got to hang out. You never see that with Arrow and Barry. It's just like, oh man, we gotta defeat this guy, I'm so sad. Wah. You didn't see that. They were freaking eating ice cream and donuts and shit on this episode, and it was cool to see superheroes just be friends, like hang out and be friends. It was cool to see that in an episode. Hopefully we get more crossovers in the future because both of them on screen was pretty awesome. But enough of that, let's talk theories. So in the episode we know Barry came from an alternate universe, so he had to explain the whole multiverse. It was awesome that Wynn freaking already knew what it was. There was also an Infinite Earth name drop, but the one thing I really want to talk about first is how the fuck Barry got there. Now if you guys watch both The Flash and Supergirl, you know they didn't line up together. The last thing that happened on freaking The Flash was he found out who Zoom was, and the last thing that happened on Supergirl was nothing to do with The Flash. So there was no explanation on how he got there. Now it could have happened on The Flash that Trajectory and him could have fought, and maybe he could have chased her to a different universe or something, but they didn't do that. Interestingly enough, this past episode of The Flash might have just showed us how he got to Kara's universe. Juice! Tell me more! In the last episode of The Flash, we saw that Barry Allen went back in time to meet Eobard Thawne so he could learn how to go faster. Drama happens, but Barry eventually gets the information that he needs. If you guys remember season 1 of The Flash, you know Eobard Thawne, or Reverse Flash, was trying to get back to his timeline, so he needed to go faster. One thing he was doing to go faster was using a device that involved tachyons that would make him go faster. I'm not gonna jump into all the sciencey shit about the Speed Force or anything like that, but the one thing I do want to mention is that device that Eobard Thawne was using, freaking Barry is using the same thing in this Flash Supergirl crossover. So logically, that episode of The Flash that we just saw happens before. Obviously, he's training to become faster, so that means he hasn't fought Zoom, and he mentions the name Zoom to Supergirl, so this episode might actually happen before the Versus Zoom episode, which is the next episode of The Flash in 3 weeks. So it's possible that that 3-week gap that we have on The Flash that I still think is pretty stupid, this is probably the timeline where he meets Supergirl. Technically it could still be after, but it's probably pretty good guess that it happens in between that. Now let's talk about something that I know kind of bothered some people. It bothered me for a little bit, but then I kind of got over it, was that the idea that Kara, freaking Supergirl, does not exist on Barry Allen and Arrow's Earth or universe. The reason it bothered me is because I want a fucking Justice League at some point in these shows. We have all of these shows, and you could totally make a super mega freaking 1 week crossover of the Justice League, or create the Justice League, and it would just open up so many doors for like the freaking TV-verse. But with Supergirl being in another universe, that kind of puts a roadblock in the way of the whole Justice League thing, because you'd have to have a reason she comes to the freaking portal and every time things and everything would just, it's a roadblock that doesn't need to be there, so that kind of blows. Let's get back to that same universe question. I'm no longer bummed, because when you really think about it from a comic book perspective, they're just expanding the multiverse. In the crossover episode, they even mention how different Kara's Earth is from freaking Barry's, because they have a central city, but they don't have a Star Labs. There's no Caitlin Snow, there's no Cisco Ramon, but there's a Mariah Carey and the Three Musketeers. That just goes to show you that not every character from every show on every Earth is always going to exist. There are going to be some Earths without those people. Maybe they died, maybe they were never born. You know, there's just going to be a bunch of different variables. We assume that somewhere on freaking Kara's, Supergirl's Earth, that there is a Barry Allen, there is an Oliver Queen. Basically, any popular comic book character is probably alive in some fashion or form on every Earth. So, wouldn't that mean that freaking Kara Danvers exists on Barry Allen and Arrow's freaking Earth. Let me cut all the bullshit and just read you something that came from the Nerdist channel on their Flash Supergirl crossover video, because it seems they got information from Greg Berlanti, you know, the producer that has his hands in all the freaking DC shows. This is the information they had. That's the fun of the multiverse. We have a really exciting, fun doppelganger coming up on the penultimate episode of The Flash that we haven't announced yet. What the fuck is penultimate? Now, if you do go watch that Nerdist video, which I highly recommend, they were talking about Kara Danvers possibly existing on freaking, you know, Earth 1 that we know as Barry and freaking Oliver's Earth. Berlanti also says that he thinks Kara would still be an alien on any Earth, so she's not gonna just be a person from your hometown. That Nerdist video also mentions a possible crossover with Legends of Tomorrow. Just go watch it. Link in the description, yo. The reason I showed you the doppelganger part is because who would be the fun doppelganger? If you guys keep up with Legends of Tomorrow news, they just hired an actor to be a mystery character on the final season finale episode. Final finale, is that redundant? Apparently this mystery character is going to kick off season 2, and it's supposed to be a beloved DC character. Who the fuck could that be? But I don't think that's the same person that they're talking about in this freaking fun doppelganger thing, because obviously a doppelganger would have to be a character that exists. Are we going to get a freaking Kara Danvers in The Flash? Is the CW trying to come up with some cunning plan on possibly getting Supergirl on The Flash? So just in case CW ever freaking cuts the show and cancels it, that CW can swoop that shit up and have another Supergirl show on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Oh, and they can freaking start their own Justice League on the CW channel? Or maybe freaking CW's not thinking that way, but the fun doppelganger will be Powergirl. Keyword being doppelganger, somebody that looks like you. So it's not going to be exactly Supergirl, but somebody that looks like Supergirl. So there could be a fun episode where the Flash is all like, oh, I know this chick, this is Supergirl. And she's like, what? I'm Powergirl. Oh! What if that shit happens? That would be legit to quit. Too legit to quit. Let that just sit in your brainsicle, guys. But as always, you guys know I want to know what you think. Do you think the fun doppelganger will be Powergirl? Or maybe someone else? Who is that mystery character that's going to be on the finale of Legends of Tomorrow? Do you want a Justice League on TV? Let me know in the comment sections down below. Guys and gals, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share with all your buddies. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all things nerdy and geeky on this channel. As always, guys, I am your host, JUICEbox. Remember, when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself something. Have I had my daily dose of juice? See you guys next time.